a police department that has to hire, and there's nothing. I'm nothing against civilian bagpipers. Work with them every day, but you're like, wow, that civilian bagpiper just played the walkaway for a police funeral. I mean, yeah, he sent the soul to heaven, and that's the meaning of it. That needs to be done by a police officer.
Hey, Blue Grit listeners, watchers, we are back this week. I'm one of your co-hosts, Clint McNear, and
Tyler Owen.
How are you?
Good, man. Good. Busy weekend for the folks at Tmpa and Texas law enforcement. Friday kicked off with our board meeting, followed by the TTPOA had some field reps out there cooking at the Staccato Range. Is that right? Staccato Ranch. That's I'd love to visit that. That'd be pretty cool.
I've heard it's really nice.
I'm sure. And then followed by the Texas Peace Officer Memorial, which is last night. Great event. Hats off to Concerns of Police Survivors, Texas Commission on Law Enforcement, TMPA, and everybody else that was involved with that ceremony last night. Good job on your speech, too, by the way.
Shanks.
It was awesome.
The wind almost blew it out of my hand at one point. I didn't know what I was going to do. I was just going to start rapping, or I didn't know what I was going to do.
No, it was good. Lean in. If I could sum it up, lean in. Lean in on your Blue family was pretty much to wrap up Clint's speech to everybody that was there and all the surviving family. If you want to take a look at that video or that ceremony, we had it on our TMPA's YouTube channel, so it'll be there for years to come.
Can you pop the link?
Yeah,
right
I can
there?
pop the link right here, right here in front of Babb's face.
Right there.
Yes,
That'll be good right there. Just put it in front of his face.
right there on his nose.
Leave it on there the whole episode.
Yeah,
Cover it up.
You know, speaking of the Texas Peace Officer Memorial, lots of honor guards, pipes and drums crews were in town, and we've been talking about this for many months. And man, what a good time to talk about it now. So, why don't you intro our guest, James Babb, former past president, has been.
That sums it up. This is Jason Back. He's an NPO neighborhood police officer with the Fort Worth Police Department, and he is the pipe major of the Fort Worth Pipes and Drums.
So cool, dude. Y'all, man, I was telling James this. I guess my first officer funeral most likely was Dale Sherrill, followed by Trooper Scott Burns. And when me and Babb were talking about that several years ago, that was my first time to see, and it's so impactful, and it's so meaningful for you guys.
What year was
be a
that?
part of that?
You remember?
08. April 29th was his line of duty death, and then followed by the next week. It was you guys do amazing stuff. But
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One of my funniest stories of Jason and retired member James Gray so right behind our headquarters here is Doubletree, where we stay now.
Yeah.
But it used to be right next door at the Crown.
They're
tearing down.
Tearing it down.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, you do know. So
Hopefully.
Probably 10 years ago, 11 years ago, we're staying there. We're in the bar. It's probably 11 or 11:30 at night. Him, James, Fred, there's several of them there. We may or may not have been buying supplies from the bar a little bit.
Partaking.
Yes.
Partaking.
Shirley Temple's only.
And I was like, hey, would y'all play something? They're like, yeah, I don't know. So I asked the bartender. She's like, no, there's literally hotel rooms right above the bar. And I said, well, could they play one song? Like, she goes, they're bagpipe guys. I said, yeah, they can play one.
We'll turn the volume down.
Yeah, they had it set on minimum. So they all go out, come back in. Fred comes back in with a drum. 4 or 5 pipes come in instead of one. One song turned into
Probably 5.
Probably 5 at
cool,
about
so
11:30 at night. It was awesome. They're marching through the bar. Patrons are all up screaming and yelling. And the bartender's about to faint. She's like, I'm going to get fired. I'm losing my job.
She probably made a lot of tips that night, though.
Oh, yeah. It was so freaking fun.
That's awesome.
It was cool.
And we're going to touch on that about the meeting because y'all do it at Police Week. And so the first time I was up there last year, you may have been there. Yeah, some of them came walking in, and it was just and it's awesome to see that in that type of environment with everybody that's been there or there on site to celebrate and honor that week. And so for you guys to be there means a lot.
Was that at the Irish Channel? Or?
Yes.
You know, Tom is great. He's the one that owns the Irish Channel up there. He's awesome. He loves cops.
Yeah,
and he really rolls out the red carpet for that week.
He does.
You know?
Yep. But hey, let's kick it off by saying where you started off your law enforcement career, how you got involved with it, and then what led you into doing what you do with the pipes and drums.
Yeah, well,
Jason, where were you born?
I grew up in Mansfield, before Mansfield was the way it is
Before
now.
Mansfield was Mansfield. That's right.
You know, it was a little old farming community back in those days, and
Hometown of Kelly Clarkson. That's what y'all are known for.
Yeah, that Rendon, Mansfield, that type of thing. You know, she bought my my granddad's old place
Really?
when she first got started. Yeah, when she got her first millions. But no, grew up in Mansfield, and went to Mansfield High School, and then after that went in the Marine Corps. And did 4 years as
Forgot about that again.
You always bring jarheads every single time.
well. I mean, were you in the Air Force?
Don't worry about
Oh
that.
no, Space Force. I'm sorry.
Space Force.
Anyway, so got out of the Marine Corps and went to work for White Settlement, and they're in Fort Worth. Hang on, let me reposition this. Is that better?
There you go.
Okay, here we go.
Act like we're in the Navy.
Yeah. So went to White Settlement and knew I was always wanting to go to a larger department. I had my great grandfather was a Dallas policeman in the 30s and 40s and things like that. So thought about Dallas, but grew up over in the Fort Worth side, so it just wasn't the right thing for me. So I tested for Fort Worth and started in 2000. Started in the academy and then graduated in 2001 and went out of patrol.
When did you know you wanted to be police? Before you went in the Marine Corps, or serving in the Marines made you want to continue?
No, I think before. Either I grew up in the volunteer fire department, and
bless you.
yeah, and so as a junior fireman, and then as a regular fireman, once I got old enough to do the big boy things. And so I knew I wanted to do something. I took the test a couple of times for the fire department, but back in those days,
we can end it right there. We can just shut off the cameras.
He graduated from being a second responder to a first responder.
Yeah.
well, you had to make 100 pretty much
Yeah.
in Fort Worth Fire Department. So, the law enforcement thing was always in my mind also, just being in the Marine Corps. And so when I got out, my first academy was North Texas Council of Governments. There, I was sponsored by Tarrant County Constable's Office. A friend of mine was a elected constable at the time, and so from there it went to White Settlement and then Fort Worth. So, but yeah.
Another fact I forgot, Clint, he was a motor jock too at one time. I just recalled that.
Yes.
That's right.
You might want to switch seats with Tyler.
Yeah, I'm surprised he didn't have boots on.
Yeah. You never get rid of them.
Did you look at my feet?
Once a motor jock, always
I was a motor jock for about 10 years. That kind of gets ingrained in you like the Marine Corps. We have a different way of thinking and, a better way of thinking than people like James Babb.
What'd y'all ride?
Started out on Harleys, and then we had, for a couple of years, we had the Honda ST1300. Really good bike, had some electrical issues, but then we finally saw the light and went to the BMW 1200. Now it's the 1250, and I think they're riding 1300s now.
Which one do you like better, the Harley or the
BMW? I'm a BMW guy, so yeah. Doing the off-road dual sport stuff. We still do police rides with those and everything.
Yeah.
So,
What got out of patrol? Tell us about your career. Got out of academy.
I got out of academy, went to the east side to the north side in Fort Worth, and spent a lot of time in patrol, and then went to South ZT, which is Zero Tolerance Unit in Fort Worth. It's a street crimes unit, and just from there, did about 3 years of that, and that's about it's a tough job, and decided to go somewhere else and didn't want to go back to patrol at the time. And so I went into the traffic division and spent a couple years there. And then I have no earthly idea why I was thinking this, but I thought the grass was greener on the other side of the fence out of law enforcement. And for a couple years, I went to Colorado and had a business up there, renting ATVs, snowmobiles, and dirt bikes, and doing adventure tours and things like that. And it worked out really well, but just too much baggage coming. Just did it kind of wrong. And I think a lot of guys in law enforcement, that happens to them. There's 2 or 3 in my mind right now that are coming back to Fort Worth because they tried it. I do believe that once law enforcement, the notion of helping other people gets in your head, it's hard to get it out. I know sometimes we joke about it and all that, and why'd you get in law enforcement? I wanted to help people. Well, we all joke about that, but deep down inside, that's really, that's really ingrained in us.
So it's kind of funny because my mentor was a trooper, and he was my brother's father-in-law. And he told me early on, he said, you're either going to love it or you're going to hate it.
Yeah.
And if you love it, you might as well stay because you ain't worth a crap anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's true. That's true.
But yeah, so, we did the out of law enforcement thing for a couple of years. And
We're
then
in Colorado.
In Lake City.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, it's a beautiful country, and I'll probably retire back somewhere up there, western Colorado, Utah, some Wyoming, I don't know. It's getting too populated down here for me. I'm a country boy, always have been, always lived in the country, still live there now. And so, but after that came back, I came back and got my job back, and just, it was funny because the first day back, I hadn't done it in 2.5 years, and it was really like I never left it. Like I was just gone for a long, extended couple of weeks, and other than the CAD system changing, that's all I had to learn.
Got right back on the bicycle and
did I don't know, another couple years in patrol, and then DWI opened up. Back in those days, that's kind of what you had to do. In the Fort Worth Police Department, you had to go to DWI to get to motors. And so I did a 1.5 years in DWI, and finally a motor spot opened up, and it was all history.
At some point, you probably attended, sadly, numerous funerals and identified, the need or the want.
I think it was when I started on the motor division, because we do a lot of escorts and funeral stuff, and I think that's really where most of it started.
And that's where you kicked it off when you came back. Your second tenure was you got with the pipes and drums at that point.
Yes.
Did you know how to play? Are you which one, a bag or?
I play the bagpipes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about that and talk about how you got interested in it, and then how that road to where you're at now.
Well, I think that you go to these funerals and you see stuff. You're like, we need to make that better. Oh, let's don't let that happen again. Oh my gosh. You see a police department that has to hire, and there's nothing. I'm nothing against civilian bagpipers. We work with them every day. But you're like, wow, that civilian bagpiper just played the walkaway for a police funeral. He sent the soul to heaven, and that's the meaning of it. But that needs to be done by a police officer or a fireman or somebody in as a first responder. And I myself said, you know what, I'm not going to let that happen anymore. Well, I took a kind of initiative to, I play other instruments also, the guitar and fiddle, and kind of grew up doing some bluegrass stuff. And I started investigating, come up with my instructor, Bob Richardson. He's a guy from that moved here from Scotland. He did another career, but he, on the side, he taught bagpipes. That's all he does now. And it just kind of snowballed from there. And I started taking lessons, and the word gets, how the little word gets around a police department really quick. You can't, if you want to keep something secret, boy, don't tell anybody, right? Because boy, you tell the first person, and boy, that ship is starting to sink. Mm-hmm. And so I'd said something to a couple of guys, and they were like, "What? You're learning? Oh, so is a guy named James Gray." And James had, he was our first pipe major. He had moved from, don't get mad at me, James, but I think River Oaks. He came from River Oaks, and he hired in as one of the first classes of lateral entries into the Fort Worth Police Department. And so we finally got together, and he goes, "You're learning the bagpipes?" I said, "Yeah." "You learning the bagpipes?" He goes, "Yeah." And we both had the exact same story of we saw something that we didn't like at a funeral, well, not that it was a bad performance, but we wanted a policeman to be doing that for that fallen officer. And so we were like, okay, great. We'll start doing this. And then word, keeps getting around the police department, and Walt Watkins, he's one of the guys that one of our founding members,
Little tiny guy.
Yeah, he's real small, and we came up to him and he goes, "Hey, you guys learning how to play the bagpipes?" He said it a little bit louder than that. Walt, he's got a strong voice, and we were like, "Yeah, you learning?" "Yeah, I'm learning." And
so at this time, Fort Worth did not even have one. They didn't have a pipes and drums.
Never existed.
Wow.
Ever had a piper? Ever had anybody interested? Well, probably had somebody interested, but they never took the initiative.
How crazy at one time without y'all communicating, multiple people.
Well, I'm not done yet.
Oh, all right.
So
continue on.
Walt says, "I'm learning. Y'all learning?" "Oh yeah. "Oh, great." And then, in amongst all that, there's two other people. Mike Cagle, one of our motor sergeants at the time. I'm motors, and I didn't even learn. He was kind of wanting to do this. And Kathy Fowler, she was one of our mounted officers, and she was like, "Y'all learning?" "Yeah, I'm learning." So we all had this vision,
yeah.
And so we all came together and formed a band. And at first, I think the department was like, "Whatever."
What year was that?
2012, I believe. And maybe, I don't know, it's been a long time ago.
Yeah.
And I'm getting pretty old, but not as old as
James Babb.
God, look at that. He ain't even getting no hair no more.
I thought for years you were his son.
That's from putting up with you.
For years, I thought you were his son until somebody explained.
I got the bill for breakfast this morning you got to pay for. You Venmo me, Dad?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So we all came together and started approaching. Walt is really good at finding money and finding sources of income, and so he's like, "Hey, I'm going to start hitting the department up." And the department at the time was like, "Yeah, y'all are not serious.
You're going to do what?
Go away." Sorry, Chief, but you weren't chief at the time, and we were like, "Well, but we want to do this."
Yeah. So
we had to find other avenues of income and to support us, because the department at the time, I mean, they do now, but the department at the time didn't want to have anything really to do with it, And so Walt went out and talked to Walmart and talked to the Hillwood Foundation, which is the Ross Perot family, and they really stepped up and gave us a lot of funds to start our, to do our first set of not bagpipes, but first set of uniforms.
Yeah.
And so it just kind of snowballed from there. After that, I think that the department figured out after, we played the first memorial there at our memorial, they thought, okay, you guys are serious. And at the time we had Jeff Halstead, and then, it finally got up to him. I think sometimes some of the information stops at deputy chiefs and assistant chiefs, and it really never got up to him. Well, it finally got up to him, and he was like, "Wow, this is a good thing. You see what kind of good publicity we bring to the police department." And not only do we do funerals, we do other stuff, veterans events, 5K runs, and I always say, and we laugh about it, but we're not the cake, we're not the icing, but we're probably the sprinkles when it comes to, some deal. So
some ceremony,
yep. And we're not trying to steal the show, but we'll be the sprinkles on top of the cake. Just that little bit of refinement, that makes your ceremony that much more memorable. And so finally the police department said, okay. And they slowly but surely started to support us. And I can't sit here and not talk about Fred Long, because he was a captain at the time. Actually, he was a lieutenant at the time. And he started taking the initiative of writing SOPs. While myself and James Gray were worried about music and the way we looked and how we sounded and tuning and all that, Fred Long and Walt Watkins were the ones that, SOP, hey Chief, can we start implementing some of this stuff? And eventually we got a van, and Fred kind of spearheaded that. And with our current ceremonial unit commander, which I'll talk about in a minute, but Robin Krause, Captain Krause, they actually got us this van, and we start showing up to all these, and we were kind of like the envy of all the pipe bands because no other department would let them have. Nobody touches that van but us. Nobody, even Honor Guard.
Yeah, no, there is no other band in the state that has
our own van.
What the support that they have had from their department.
Austin has a van, but it's Honor Guards too.
Right.
So, and we were split from Honor Guard for a long time, and to digress here, so they gave us a van. Fred and Walt kept working in the background, and finally we are now have a budget, and we split it with Honor Guard, and finally we all got together and said, hey, why don't we start a ceremonial unit, and we can offer to the small departments, and I will point out Wood County Sheriff's Department that just had a line of duty death. They were lost. They'd never had that. They'd probably had it maybe in the 20s or maybe in the 1800s. They had lost an officer, but not since people, the current sheriff. And so they called us and they said, we need help. And, Chief Noakes has always said, go forth and conquer. Go help them. That's what a larger department really needs to do for smaller departments, because we have the resources where they don't.
Y'all helped Greenville. Y'all helped Terrell. Y'all helped Wood County.
I don't even. I got a spreadsheet of all the funerals that we've been through all through these years, and all the veterans events and all the 5K runs, and it all comes together. All those events, all those veterans events, 5K runs. I tell my guys, that's what makes you better for the funerals, so you don't mess up in front of the families.
Yeah.
And so you're not, they remember it and it was flawless. We do make mistakes. We make mistakes I made tons of mistakes yesterday at the memorial, and but nobody really knows it because it's bagpipes. It's not the piano. Nobody really knows what we're supposed to be playing unless we're playing Amazing Grace.
Right.
Or AC/DC. Then they know how those tunes are supposed to go, right? So, but anyways, going back to the budget and how the Fort Worth, finally bid off on the idea. Now we have a ceremonial unit, which encompasses Captain Krause is our ceremonial unit commander. He is one of my bagpipers, but he wears two hats. Yeah. And in the future, when he either finally retires or does other jobs within the police department, he may give that up, and we're going to get a captain that knows nothing about either, but and they're just a guy we go to say, hey, can we go help this department? Sure, go, approved. And so, but we have a ceremonial unit, and it's got a commander, and it's got pipes and drums on one side, on one leg, and honor guard on the other. And we have a budget, and we split it down the middle, and they don't have their own van, but they're working on it. So
Captain Fred Long, the artist formerly known as a drummer, now learning the pipes, it looks like.
Oh, he's on the pipes. He's good. He's a very good piper now. He's
posted a video a while back practicing. I was like,
yeah.
He's off the drums now.
Yeah, he's competing now.
He's competing in solo competitions, and he's really good.
He's a good drummer too.
He retired from the Fort Worth Police Department and went over to TCU PD, and so he's kind of quasi starting his own little band over there, which is great. That gets the word out, maybe to get more people involved, and because we come together as a state band in most of these funerals. We have a Facebook page that it's a private Facebook page, but we send out all the information on all these funerals because we have what would you say, James? Probably 4 days notice usually.
Usually, yeah.
About 4 days notice to get hotels because our department, it's kind of an unwritten rule. If it's more than 3 hours away, we get a hotel, and so, and a lot of times we're helping the department, so we need to be there earlier. So, I don't know where I was going with it, but.
Well, we're talking about line of duties. We've got one tomorrow in O'Donnell, and if you don't know where O'Donnell is, it's an hour from anywhere.
It's New Mexico. It's basically New Mexico, and
Which department was it?
Dawson County.
Dawson County.
So y'all leave here to head there?
No, I'm going to go home because it's kind of odd. We were talking about it a little bit last night. It's a 3:30 funeral, 3:30 in the afternoon, which is really, to me, strikes me as kind of odd because I've probably been to, with honor guard and bagpipes, probably sadly over 100 funerals at this point. And so since it's so late in the day, I've got plenty of time to get there, but we're going to stay that night instead of trying to hook it back.
So that's a perfect example of they called me and said, we don't know what to do. And I said, we got you. DPS honor guard is top notch, and they take control of the honor guard portion of it. And then, we take control of the pipes and drums portion. And we've in the last couple of years we started talking about this map, this region area. We have pipe majors that are kind of controlling each region, and so I have a pipe major. He is a fireman, and but he's a very good piper, and he can control things, and he can say what we can and can't do it during planning of funerals. So he's been out there ever since Thursday planning. Well, ever since we got the word. I think it was Thursday, didn't we?
I think
Thursday or Friday.
Yeah, it may have been Wednesday because I think the death was on Tuesday.
Yeah. Well, we get the word, and so I got to start having a pipe major because they start planning these funerals and they see stuff that happens other places, maybe over in England, the way they do things or whatever, and they're like, oh, that would be great. We would love the piper to, come running out and turn somersaults and cartwheels and play, long way down or whatever, and that just doesn't happen, so we've got to have somebody there that's a competent pipe major that can say, yes, the band right now, our ability as a state band, we can do this and we can pull this off flawlessly.
My favorite is not hearing just Amazing Grace, but what do y'all call it? Where it's like just the tunes, like the random songs.
We started to do the kind of the march in thing.
Yeah.
And all that comes from, we're not reinventing the wheel. Right. All that comes, it starts over in England. If you watch the Queen's funeral, how they processed, we're just emulating that. And then, down through the years, we've been emulating. I have a good friend of mine that's the Luke McKee. That's a pipe major in Chicago. So very, grade 1 piper, competed over in Scotland. So a lot of times I'm on the phone with him, on all these funerals and saying, hey, is this something, I'm running things by him because way more experience than I am. And so he goes, yeah, that'd be good.
Do you know the history of how the bagpipe and drums got into law enforcement? Obviously, we know it originated in Scotland, and then it kind of got involved. Can you?
Well, it originated in Scotland, and then, but you can chime in when you want. But it came over because
all the Irish.
Well,
cops,
the Irish. It was a nobody wanted to be a cop back in 1800s in New York.
Okay,
and so they said, okay, well, let the Irish do it.
No, they were second class citizens.
They were literally second class, and they said, well, I
feel like we still are.
Yeah,
some of the McNears are just.
Yeah. So
hey, quiet down over there.
So we, they said, well, let the Irish do it.
Wow.
And so, and the Scottish, the Scots Irish. I mean, it without going into the whole history of how, Ulster Scots and all that, how they came over and all that. But, the Irish said, okay, we'll do it because they pay more.
Yeah.
but it was absolutely the most dangerous job. That and being a fireman back in the day, they lost more firemen and policemen than anything. And so they would have line of duty deaths, and they would bring the bagpipes. And then it just, from the Northeast, not just New York, but I mean all those departments up
Boston,
there, the Yonkers and all that stuff. And it came over to Chicago. All the big departments, would have that. And then, I don't think maybe in the 90s, Jeff Courts was playing. He's a officer from Vider that plays with us all the time. He was here. He's here today, and he was playing in the 90s, doing it by himself because there just wasn't the bands that we have now, and it wasn't popular down here, or not. Maybe that's a bad word.
We weren't exposed to it.
No, we have a different different
culture.
way of life, different culture down here and everything. So, a lot of the Scottish that were down here, that's all that kind of culture had left years ago,
Right.
And so we're trying to bring all that back. And so,
what's the oldest police band in the country? Do you know?
Well, the oldest, Stockyard Kilty, is which Luke McKee, the guy I'm talking about in Chicago, he's the pipe major up there. He's a member of I believe it's the oldest. He might correct me.
You think it's older than the NYPD band?
It's pretty old, and I don't know if any NYPDs listening to this.
I've never really researched like the history of when they started, so
Right.
it's an interesting question.
Well,
While I'm throwing crazy questions at you, just if you don't mind sharing, just so the listener knows, a lot of you guys jump into this on your own. What does a nice set of bagpipes cost?
Well, your base set of wood, black wood or kokobo, right? They do make some plastic ones that are a little cheaper, but you're lucky to get out of there under $1,500 for just a.
we just looked at them the other day because our department, we buy our own bagpipes, but we're looking at maybe transitioning to departmental owned. DPS
I
does
knew he was transitioning.
departmental owned, and it's the big thing now. Departmental owned bagpipes, DPS does that. We kind of resisted it for since we started because we wanted our own bagpipes, but we think that might be a hang up of recruitment, and so we're going to look at buying some departmental owned. But the cheapest we looked at is $1,400 right now for the wooden bagpipes. We don't do the plastic bagpipes.
Well, you seem to be musically inclined, so I'll ask James.
Yeah, I'm not.
But no, I don't mean it disrespectful, but like I'm not.
There's steam coming off the top of that head right now.
If I decided tomorrow to, I didn't mean it as a shot, but he said he plays all kind of instruments. If I bought a set of pipes tomorrow, I know that it is one of the hardest instruments to play. How long reasonably is that process? Because I know it's long.
So I was just talking to the pipe sergeant for Fort Worth about this last night because I've had 4 people at my department that come to me with interest, and I tell them, buy this book. It's called the Green Book. The
old Green Book.
The
It's
College
like
of
the
Piping.
standard.
Yeah, that's the standard to learn from. And in fact, the last guy, I said, hey, I found a steal on a practice chanter, which basically looks like the recorder that you play in third grade or whatever. And generally, you're going to be on that for a year before you even pick up a set of bagpipes.
Wow.
So, and to put it in perspective, I was on evenings. I worked evening shift, no children. So I practiced at least 30 minutes every single day
On the chatter?
on the practice chanter. And I was lucky because my department sent me to a very prestigious school about 9 months after I stared. And
The
I
bagpipe
bought my
school?
yes,
Really?
in the Balmoral School in Chicago, and I had just gotten my pipes, gotten them set, and went up there, and it really launched me off the pad. But I say it all the time. I'm a player. I'm not a musician. Like I'm not going to rearrange anything. I'm not going to just give it to me. I'll learn it and I'll play that. I don't and I don't do my own embellishments or anything like that.
But in reality, I mean, the bagpipes, it seems, at least seemingly to us, right, the outsiders, is that it's just several melodies that just repeat themselves. I mean, for the most part.
There's only 9 notes.
Right.
Well, and a lot of tunes repeat other parts of tunes. If you start looking at the bagpipe music, there's only a couple of different measures of music, and then they kind of repeat themselves. And bagpipe music until, I'm going to get crucified by Jack Lee if he hears this podcast, but I think it was in the 1500s when the first written bagpipe music was ever, they know about.
Yeah.
And then really not till the 1700s was it, really a big thing. Before that, it was me. I would sit and play something for him, and then he would go, okay. And then he would try to play it, and I would go, you messed it up. It's like this. And then we'd go back and forth, and eventually he would get the tune. But he was award-winning. You played the recorder as a senior, didn't you? You're award-winning in the band?
Well, that, and I read on an 8th grade level, so something like that.
You IL recorder champ?
He is I would like to point out, he is a sergeant. So, when you make sergeant,
oh, yeah.
Yeah, when you make sergeant, it gets kind of warm.
Yeah.
Goes downhill.
Well, anyways, you talk about the recipe of a person. Me and Clint say this a lot on this podcast and talking to different people, is that just like us within TMPA, the recipe within, having cops serve cops, and then what you identified with having, private citizens, no shot to them at all. We appreciate their support and them doing what they do, but you've got to have somebody that knows the industry, knows the traditions, and quite honestly shares the same passion, right, for our stuff to be able to do that. So,
yeah.
But anyway, well, we got anything else?
I would like to touch on, if anybody's out there in the TMPA land that wants to, what's going on over there with you?
So,
are you making a statement?
Yeah, he is. So, I guess on a podcast several months ago, I made the statement. In fact, one of your colleagues from Fort Worth, he was in the military and went to Japan, and so he said he got out of Japan and moved to Abilene. And my quote was, Abilene's a cool town, but it's no Japan. And so I'm on a podcast on ATO, just like what just happened. And Babb seems to change shirts or take off his jacket during the podcast. And now I've got a quote that's on Aaron Slater, Relentless Defenders. You can catch it. They made it all. It's official. Yes.
You can buy that.
You can buy that. You can buy that shirt and wear it, and all the proceeds will go to my kids' college fund. So,
and you got to say, right, Abilene's cool, but it ain't no Japan.
It ain't no Japan.
Well, I've been in Japan in the Marine Corps. You're right.
I've never been.
Abilene ain't no Japan.
I've never been, but if I do, I'm damn sure gonna wear that shirt.
Yeah,
and you got a bottle of bourbon during the board meeting.
Yeah. Man, there's a funny story about me at a San Antonio conference and Angels Envy, where I had a little accident.
Good stuff.
And
we all have accidents.
Yeah. And so the bottle of Angels Envy was presented to me that something T.O. don't be pissy. And drink me is what it says engraved on this bottle. Of course, they can't get drank now because it's got engravings on it. But I tend to be the run of the jokes, and I'm cool with that. I love it. That means you guys love me. And
no, I call you a philosopher.
Well, that's what happens to the pipe major too.
A philosopher.
But I tend to be the run of the jokes because I'm always having to make the calls, and then something doesn't go right, and boy, it's how cops are, and that's fine.
Gosh,
I mean, we're pretty hard on we eat our own, so but that's fine. But getting back to the recruitment part of it,
yes,
this thing, bagpipes, that everybody likes, it doesn't run itself. So we have to have officers that are interested, like you just said. Matter of fact, I'm going to show you where to get the recorder or the chanter and the green book. Yeah, your recorder. Well, you can talk to James because, like I said, when he was a senior in high school, he was like the world's best recorder player.
Yeah, I didn't want this to be about me. You can move on.
Okay, well. Anyways,
there is a good segue though, and this is something that I've talked to Tyler about and you about as well, is looking for a way to form, whether it be a 501 or something, to be able to get more band members to these line of duty death funerals.
Yeah.
Because a lot of them are going to come on their own time and on their own dime. And if you're looking at $125, $150 a night for a room,
Mm-hmm.
and a lot of them we can get to go down day of, come back day of, but that's really not going to be the case for either of us tomorrow to go way out to West Texas and then try to turn.
It's
3
dangerous.
4 hours.
It's dangerous. You don't do that to a truck driver. You don't make him drive that long because it's dangerous.
Yeah.
So
To your point about recruiting, that's the thing that has always stood out. And you and James and all the guys there, man, have always had a special place in my heart because it takes a year to try and figure out how to learn to play this instrument. Then you guys, no fault of your own, are usually given 2, 3, 4, 5 days notice. I guess 5 or 6 days notice is really nice. You need to travel to Abilene or you need to travel to Amarillo or El Paso, and it may be on your personal time and your personal dime after spending a year learning to play this instrument. You guys are passionate about what you do, and there is no dipping your toe in the water to be a part of your group.
you can't.
And that has always stood out to me is not just hearing you guys march in or hearing that lone piper as he marches away, but by God, you're not dipping your toe in the water. You're all in on this or you're all out because you can't.
Well, there's no guitar uniform either.
Yeah.
But there's a bagpipe uniform, and you have to learn that. You have to learn your instrument. You have to learn the regalia that goes along with it. The
meaning of
the
each
meaning
one. Yeah.
of each one, because it's it's not the guitar. You pick up a guitar in Japan, and it's just a guitar, or in Abilene.
Yeah.
And it's still just a guitar. You could wear the Abilene or the Japan shirt, But with bagpipes, you pick up a set of bagpipes. Everybody wants to see you in a kilt, and you got to look right. It's got to be right.
But it goes back to what you said, though. And if you're not a part of this culture and a part of this law enforcement family, you're not going to understand that. You're not going to understand the meaning and from the sense of the family aspect and the honor that goes with that, unless you're in this profession. So kudos for you for kind of identifying that and moving forward with it.
And so, just real quick, and I was talking to my wife on the way over here, what I wanted to get out, if chiefs are listening or assistant chiefs are listening, the people that make the calls on these smaller departments or even larger departments, Dallas is one of them. Dallas had a band years ago, and now we're trying to restart that for them. And we got a couple guys learning, and the Dallas command staff, I think, is starting to understand. When an officer comes to him and says, "Hey, I did this bagpipe thing. I know how to play the bagpipes now. I want to go to help at Houston or wherever, Abilene," and they say, "Well, you can go, and we'll give you a car. We ain't got no money for a hotel. We've got no money for meals. We got none of that." Well, but then in turn, when that same department has a line of duty death, they expect and want their family to see a sea of police everywhere.
And the biggest band that can show up possible.
And the biggest band that can show up. But they're the same department that a month ago said, "Oh, God, we would love for you to go, but we don't really have the money." So I think that the departments have to take a good hard look at themselves. You've got to support other departments when they have their time and need, and just let whoever, if they've put in the time, whether it be honor guard, whether it be we have trumpeters, or whether it be bagpipes, let them go.
If you expect it for your own, then be willing to give yourself.
Absolutely. And so, and then just to round it out, I would be dumb not to mention my band members, because my pipe sergeant, Josh Van Brunt, without him, I couldn't be the pipe major, because there's a lot of stuff that I don't have time to do, and he does that. And my band members that practice every day, because that's what has to happen. You have to get those bagpipes out at least twice a week, and basically you're conditioning them, because they're a reeded instrument. It's a piece of wood in there, and they've got to be conditioned. So you've got to have them out every 2 weeks or every twice a week. And then, they practice. Yeah. The reason we sound good, We make mistakes all over the page, but the reason we sound the way we do as a state band is because every officer practices, and they take time from their families because they want to give that time to families that are in need and hurting at the time,
Yeah.
So if I can make an analogy, I mean, most of the listeners of this podcast are going to be law enforcement. The pipes are a diminishing skill, just like shooting, literally. Because if you put them away and don't play them, and I've been guilty of it at times, just getting too busy and not playing them, you're not going to be crisp with your notes, but also your lips are going to go. And if you're not conditioning,
oh yeah, that's the big the big joke.
And you can't fill the bag anymore because you just can't.
Yeah, that's the weak point in the
state.
instrument is your lips, because everybody's gonna, that's the big joke. But you can't make a seal around. Yes, it's called the blow stick. You can't make a seal.
There's 500 cops watching this.
Yeah.
Giggling like,
Oh, is that what you call it?
They are laughing,
Yeah.
And so but it you'll know right off if somebody's been practicing.
Yeah.
Like they should, because if we call it your lips are going. After 2 or 3 tunes, we're like, well, somebody ain't been practicing their instrument.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it shows. But they'll get there. I mean, everybody's not the musician. I mean, I don't want a musician, because you get a musician and he's like, well, that doesn't sound perfect. Well, it's not going to be perfect.
No, it's not supposed to.
That's not our mission.
Yeah.
Our mission is to make sure that the family's taken care of, And so,
well, and something else I want to touch on that a lot of people don't know is, from yesterday, we tuned at 6 o'clock, our final tuning, give or take. We played in, right? With its complications, but we'll get into that if you want to. And then we set those instruments down for 2 hours.
yeah.
And it's not like a guitar or something else. They go out of tune. And you can't fire them up in the middle of a ceremony
And
to retune them.
we could walk a
so
mile
it's-
away and fire them up and you'd still hear them.
That's one of the things that's a struggle, that people think you just walk up to a gig and pull them out of the case and go to work, and that's just not how it
A
works.
funny story, and I know we're getting on our, I don't know how long the podcast is
How
supposed
long
to
as
be.
y'all want.
Yeah. So only podcast I've ever really looked at is the, Sean Rhines and all that. So
Yeah.
I'm kind of giddy right now, because I'm thinking Sean Rhines going to call me after this.
He might.
Get you on there.
He may
Well,
not.
I think I
Joe
saw your
Rogan's
phone
gonna
light up.
call
Well,
Well,
there.
you
Might
being
be.
the champion recorder player, he might want to call you.
It may be.
So anyways,
Maybe.
I don't even know where I was going with
About
that.
the tuning.
Oh yeah, about the tuning. You can tune all day long, and you, like James said, you can set them down, and you can't just fire them up, because you would blow. Everybody would hear it. Oh, the funny story. That's where I was going. We were in San Antonio, and this was years ago. And if he's listening, I don't even know his name. He's the honor guard commander. Or he was down there. So the funeral was going on. That's our MO, is while the funeral is going on, pipes and drums, and usually honor guard are outside practicing, because nobody's watching us and nobody can usually hear us because the churches, the walls and things. And we were about there practicing, left and right. I mean, doing it over and over and over. And he come running out in his little honor guard uniform, things clanking and, whatever. He's like, whoa, stop. What's going on? Oh, we can hear you in there. Okay. So, we got to practice. I guess we'll go up further. He goes, no. Can you just take the volume knob and isn't there a volume knob on the right side of back there? And I think it was Todd
It's
Bircher
right here.
or BK, both of them retired pipe majors from Austin. And then sure. Let me go. Yeah, because there's a volume knob on bagpipes. There ain't no volume knob. It's either on or off.
Yeah.
And it's loud.
Yeah.
So that honor guard commander, we said sure, and he run back in. We just went up on the hill a little bit further. So that was
funny.
So what do you want to get into about the memorial last night?
If you guys want to dive off into it, I thought it was great. I mean, from my perspective of me being there, I couldn't tell any missteps or mishaps or anything.
You're right. And see, we did our job as seasoned bagpipers.
We pulled it off.
We pulled it off because there was a huge deal. we were supposed to march around and go into a different location, but that location was blocked. I'm not going to say what department. Okay, it was black and white cars. It had the state of Texas on the side. They had it completely blocked.
Yeah, that north entrance where the north steps go up to the Capitol, there's that concrete pad or whatever, granite or whatever they have over there. And we were supposed to go straight and let the honor guards go down.
We were supposed to turn into that spot and keep playing and let the honor guards just pass us. Well, it was blocked. But you know what? I in the Marine Corps, they teach you, own your mistakes, just like police work, but it was drilled home into me from the Marine Corps. Own your mistakes. Well, that's the pipe major, and the pipe major last night was me. And because we trade off next year, I think it'll be back to Austin, and then it goes to DPS, and then back to Fort Worth. We trade off so we don't have to the
responsibility.
Well, and we come up with new and inventive ways to make the ceremony good. And so that was on the pipe major last night, and that's me. And I should have walked over there or sent my runner, my champion recorder player, over there and said, "Hey, is that stuff clear?" Because he would have done it. And as much as we teased James Babb and especially when he was the president of Tmpa, we teased him. I thought we were going to there were some times when he would just bow his head and just walk away because me and James Gray would just on him all the time.
He did file a bullying report with us.
Oh, he did.
But I just want to point out it took 2 on 1.
Well, can I? Well, I can.
Just saying.
I'm sure it went to the other association. Hey, will you
slack up?
Will you slack up? And I won't say that other name, but James is really and truly. And if Plano, if the chief, listen, he is always there. I can call James, and he is kind of like my fire department wrangler. If I'm running we're spearheading a funeral, I can call James and say, "Hey, can you spearhead the firemen?" Because we all know about firemen, right? Because they love sitting in their recliners. Well, you got to get them. You got to get them going,
right?
And so he's great at spearheading all the firemen, and they help us nonstop. But James is always there.
That's cool.
Even when he was TMPA president.
Even when he was TMPA.
Maybe that's why he's not anymore. Or is it just a year deal?
It's just a year deal.
Oh,
no,
he tried to get it extended, but the board shot it down.
It's actually,
you're trying to do your third term?
Somebody came to me and asked me to do another year, and I said, you would have had to told me that back in August because I don't have another year in me.
Yeah.
Well, to the membership, he was steadily hard trying to get us to come over.
Yeah.
And so, but we didn't ever get any free stuff from TMPA. We didn't get any cool hats or cool coins.
Come over. You get
we'll
shower you with gifts.
You got once we're there.
That's scary.
You got to shower us before. Yeah. I don't. Wait a minute. I don't want the shower you're going to give.
Yeah.
So, but not nonstop, and you all TMPA.
Yeah.
And I'm not down in. I mean, I'm a member of another association, and I'm not down in them, and they do a lot too. But TMPA, you always see TMPA, and maybe it's because of the truck. That's a cool truck, by the way.
Yeah.
TMPA is always there. I've been a member of TMPA back when I was White Settlement, and so you guys are always there, and we appreciate that. And the partnership between the pipes and drums, or the ceremonial part of this whole deal, maybe we can make in the future some relationships that,
Maybe we can make some relationships if people want to jump in and sponsor things.
Whataburger. I heard a commercial this morning with Lainey Wilson on there talking about how good Whataburger. You know damn well Lainey Wilson ain't eating no Whataburger with those Ozempic shots she's been on the last couple of years.
Have you guys ever told the story of how we got the memorial truck?
Mm-mm. No.
Do you know the story?
Wait a minute. Did I need to run the license plate? Has it been 60 this whole time, which in Fort Worth we call that stolen?
No, it's a very funny story. We had we were in Dallas that year, and I don't remember exactly what year it was, but we had more brand new board members elected to the board than we've had since TMPA was founded. And some of my local members were talking to a guy from Anthony, Texas, and he was talking about Fueled for the Fallen. And it's a military deal where they do basically what we were doing. And they said, "Hey, you need to come talk to this guy," because I was on the board at the time. And he tells me about it, that they paint these cars up, put the names of their fallen from their unit, And I'm looking around going, why have we not already done this?
Yeah.
So I said, can you come to the board meeting tomorrow? And he presented to the board, and the rest is history.
I'll be down. I never heard that before.
So, as far as recruiting, when y'all edit this, I don't know. It's not live, is it?
No, it's not live, but we typically don't edit anything.
Yeah. Well, when you do whatever you do with your videos, can you put my email up there and James Babb's email up there as
right
if right. Actually, you put it in front of James's nose.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right.
You might want to put it in front of that forehead. That thing is huge. And so, if somebody wants to get involved, if they're from Tmpa, if they're from Text Line PD, call us, email us. We'll make it happen for you if you want to learn the bagpipes or you want to learn the drums, because we need help,
especially in West Texas.
Because I mean, if to go from Fort Worth to and I'm not saying anything, Text Line, I'm not putting any bad juju on anybody, but that's a long drive. That's a summer vacation almost drive, So we would love to have bagpipers in that area that could supplement us. We would still come, but they could help with the planning and everything, because that's what really.
Yeah, somebody needs to be on the ground
from the start,
from the get go, that knows our capabilities, so that we don't show up and they're expecting something that we cannot perform.
Kind of like a pre-op.
Oh, we have to. We have to. A forward team, just like in the Marine Corps does. You send to Japan. They send over there. So not everybody's expecting something different. So there's a lot of things that I think maybe we could come back and touch on in another podcast, because I would love to keep this going, because I don't have but 3 years left, and I'm retiring and going to do something different. I don't know.
Yeah.
Going to another department. I don't know what I'm going to do, but
no, he ain't going to another department if they do a background.
Probably not. It's not the background. It's the psych. So they did a background on me and asked me, when I came back from Colorado, whoa, what have you been doing up there? Not consuming anything, a green leafy substance. If anybody in law enforcement's ever used that statement before, never consumed it. But so me and James are not going to be here forever.
Right. You need to pass on the torch.
I mean, he's pushing 60, so look at him. Anyways, he can't do this forever.
Right.
And I can't either. And so we're all going to retire, and so we need new blood that can take it over. And new blood doesn't happen in a year. New blood happens in 5 years.
Yeah.
Think about it in terms of training a new police officer, right? If they're green coming right off the street, they've never worked in law enforcement before, it's a year before they're productive for you, before you can turn them loose in a patroll car by themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
that's after almost a year of academy too. Yeah. And so, we're going to give it up eventually. You can't do it forever. Now we may, in retirement, come back and supplement like some of the Austin guys do and some of my guys do. Fred Long, he's moved on to another department. He supplements us. And so we've got to be able to turn it over to somebody. Like me, I'm going to turn my pipe majorship, if you want to call that, over to Josh Van Brunt, my pipe sergeant. And I've been grooming him, Yeah. And if he doesn't know that, you don't know that.
Yeah, he's been grooming him during his transition.
Your transition.
Transition.
Yeah.
And so we've got to have that.
Yeah.
And so it's not the honor guard. And I'm not down in the honor guard, but, after a week-long school of the honor guard, you know how to do the rifle salute, or you know how to fold a flag. But all of our music, we're marching around, it's all up in our head. We have to memorize that, every note. And so do the drummers.
Yeah.
Even though it's just two notes.
Yeah.
Ping and pong.
Right and left.
Ping and a pong.
And so, but we love our drummers. It's constant feud, It's kind of like the deal that me and James have, it's all in fun, but it's constant.
Right. Well, man, I can't thank you enough for what y'all do.
Yeah.
It means a lot.
Well, it's all about the families.
Yep.
I say we just try to show them that their loved one was valued by us. And, I've had some very cool things bestowed upon me from being a piper. I got to, one of mine was, I was in the mass band for Chris Kyle's funeral.
Yeah.
But someone sitting amongst us had a really big honor as a solo piper?
Gosh, yeah. Sergeant Major Overstreet, he was my sergeant major in the Marine Corps, and he was the sergeant major, the highest, and I didn't really know him per se. He didn't inspect me a couple of times in the Marine Corps, but you don't know the sergeant major of the Marine Corps. And if you do, you probably got in trouble, So, but when I got out, I met him one time I was a motor officer, and we were doing an escort for some kind of, I think it was Medal of Honor recipients, and he was there supporting that. And so I became to know him, and his real good friend was Arlie Ermey. And so I become to know Arlie Ermey just a tiny bit, not, we weren't drinking buddies. And so, but me and the sergeant major, doing a lot of, he would call me and say, hey, can you get the pipe band to come over here? Because he does a lot of veterans events. That's his big thing now. And he's also, I think, in the casket business, but we won't talk about that. Everybody's just dying to get to talk to him. But that's a dad joke, by the way. And so he called me one day and he said, that Lee wasn't feeling good, or Lee, as everybody called him Lee, wasn't feeling good, and that we don't know what's going to happen, and then he passes away. Well, Arlie Ermey has recruited more people for the Marine Corps than every recruiter combined, more than likely. And so, he was a staff sergeant, but he was an honorary gunny. He said, hey, would you come play Arlie Ermey's funeral? I said, will I? You just tell me, I'll walk there. You don't have to do anything. He said, no, we got you. And so they did a private ceremony in California. And then about a year later, they finally got him in Arlington, because truthfully, he didn't rate to be in Arlington, but what he did for the armed services, for DOD and Marine Corps and all that, they put him in there. He was a special exemption. Well, he called me one day. He called me like on a Wednesday, and the funeral was literally on that Monday. He said, hey, I need you to pack your stuff and head to D.C. I said, Sergeant Major, my stuff's packed. You just put me on a plane. So we went up there, and it was snow on the ground, snowing the day of, and I was scared to death because I thought I was going to mess up.
Yeah.
And all these, the daggone Secretary of Defense, Sergeant Major Marine Corps, the Armed Services generals, everybody was there, and I was scared to death. And so, but it went off without a hitch, and I was able to send an old salty Marine home, to the Lord. So,
yeah. For our younger listeners that don't know who Arlie Ermey is, he was a real Marine Corps drill instructor, but you would know him as the drill instructor in Full Metal Jacket. That's cool. I need to get with you. My uncle passed away, Marine Corps Lieutenant General, lives in Plano.
Let's do it.
I need to get with you on that. The funeral's going to probably not be immediate. It may be 10 days, 12 days.
I know a fairly good piper in Plano, but he was.
Will you introduce me to him?
He was world champion recorder player when he was senior in high school.
UIL state champ. UIL state champ.
I'm sorry I started that. I know that's probably going to stick now. Hey, everybody out there in TAPE land.
Yeah. Now I'm going to get a T-shirt made. You're going to get a T-shirt on that one. For sure. With
all right, Aaron Slater, get ready.
That's Japanese
right.
world
record.
Yep.
Japan champion recorder player.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of people don't know I was actually, in the beginning, I was second, but I had to file an appeal with UIL to get my rightful place at the top.
He had civil service in his recorder.
He had that one civil service point that got him, put him over the Japanese guy.
Yeah.
The Japanese guys are always the best.
I'm going to get with you. Prestonwood Baptist Church, probably May 7th or 10th. Lieutenant General Richard Carey.
Okay.
Fought in Korea, frozen.
It's going to be you. I'm going to be in D.C.
It is National Police Week. Yep. Well, hey, we like to end each episode with 3 rapid-fire questions. If you haven't studied, we hope.
I didn't give anything away.
I haven't. I don't listen to a lot of podcasts, but my son does one.
Yeah.
It's called Back Talk.
There you go.
I guess I better plug that because he'd be pissed at me if I did.
Oh yeah.
But he's in college, and I'll get you a link.
Yeah, for sure. What's your favorite cop car, line from a cop movie, and your favorite drink of choice?
Like that I've ever driven.
Driven. Yep. In your
it's a
career.
Crown Vic.
There you go.
My man.
Yeah.
Well, the Crown Vics. I've literally jumped it over in a pursuit. Jumped it, Chief. That was long ago. Jumped it over a railroad track, and it just kept right on trucking.
That's
and
right.
I think sparks came off the back of it.
Yeah.
Well, this is very very fortuitous because I've got my
Yes. It's the best police vehicle
never
ever.
forget.
But I will
Crown
say
Vic.
that I'm getting older and my knees are stiffer. I got a Tahoe now, and it is. And for taller people, we just slide right in.
Those are nice. Those are nice.
You know.
What's your favorite cop movie or line from a cop movie?
Oh, all the Clint Eastwood movies
Yeah.
for a cop movie.
Yeah.
I mean, Clint Eastwood was we all wish we could go out there and be Clint Eastwood.
Yep.
But we can't anymore. We're kinder, gentler.
Right. What's your favorite drink of choice when you're just hanging out, relaxing?
Old fashions and a good cigar from Drew Estates.
There you go.
Any certain bourbon in your old fashioned?
Bullet.
I like it.
Excuse me, TX. TX is the drink of choice.
Yes. Yeah.
Since it's a Fort Worth company. TX is really good.
They are.
They could be a sponsor of the pipe band.
Yeah,
It could be.
yeah.
But
Shout out for sponsorships.
If they ever listen to this, but TX has done stuff in the past.
Yes.
I mean, they made commemorative bottles.
They made one for us for our conference 2 years ago, I believe.
They made the Garrett Hole bottles, and I don't know the financials, but I don't know that those were. I think they were very, very cheap, like $10. I mean, we sold them for more to make money for the family, but TX is absolutely the best, company.
Yeah.
Maybe I should quit the Bullet thing.
Well, I would also say the old fashioned is the official drink of the TMPA
TMPA.
board of directors
Yeah. And all
And-
TMP.
or, and employees.
And the National Recordist Players Association of Japan.
Yes.
Well, that's really classified information. I'm not sure how you got your hands on that or broadcasted it.
You are a hoot.
Well, I went to Abilene. They told me.
Yeah.
We should have stayed in Abilene for the O'Donnell funeral.
Yeah.
Well, now
Just
that
so I
you
could
got
walk
that
around with this
song,
shirt
now
on.
that you got that T-shirt, that's what we're gonna do.
Clint, you got anything else?
Nada. Police Week coming up, DC. This may have already aired by then. But
I think it'll be
don't
probably that week of Police Week.
Please-
When this will air.
Please come see us at the Irish Channel.
Yes.
Which night?
We're there every night, drinking non-alcoholic drinks
Or TX.
or TX. Yeah, so come see us. Come introduce yourself to us. One of the pipe, And if you ever thought that you wanted to do it, we'll take your name and number and we'll get back with. Even if you're from another state,
Yep.
if you're listening to this, we'll help you.
It's
We
a
got
cool
people
event.
everywhere.
For those that haven't, it's a bucket list for sure.
Yeah, one thing I'd like to throw out there is search up some of your local police and fire pipe bands, and if they have a fundraiser, go out and support them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people, police and fire, are doing everything on their own dime. Because let me tell you, folks, like he said, those pipes are not cheap, drums are not cheap, kilts are not cheap. So
It's $2,000 for just the uniform.
Oh, wow.
So if you're doing it right, you're not doing the
The Kmart special.
Kmart special.
Plus $15
We do
for the
not do the
pipe.
Kmart special.
No.
When we do it right, and we do it. We want to make the families. I mean, really and truly, that is what this job is about. And each department, you have to remember that, because sometimes there's drama in the bands. I was just like there's drama in a police unit. We always say, whoa, stop. Remember why we're doing this.
Yeah.
We're not doing it because we sound good or we like, we want to be the best. We're doing it because that wife or that husband is sitting over there with their kids and they've just lost everything. Absolutely everything. Or a mother just lost a son. And we want to make sure that when she remembers the funeral for her son or husband or daughter or whatever it is. Wow. That honor ceremony with the honor guard and the pipes and drums is just over the top. And she can relook at that, that video if she wants to.
Yep.
So,
I agree. Well, I can't thank y'all enough for coming in. We greatly appreciate it. We greatly appreciate you guys continuing the service and doing what you guys do.
yes, sir. Appreciate you having us.
TMPA conference in Houston, July 26th through 28th.
Yep.
National FOP conference is in Miami, August 4th through 8th. Be there, be square.
I could be persuaded to come down to Miami.
Yeah, oddly enough, I talked to
I mean,
our
I
local
don't know.
president, and he goes, "Yeah, we got 4 people going this year." And I
you would
said,
like
"Yeah,
the
because it's in Miami."
The pipes and drums, if you want to send the pipes and drums down to Miami.
Need to make a little formal request.
Little,
Yeah, Pat Yost.
Yeah.
President Pat
Do a
Yost.
little presentation down there at Little Havana, maybe. Smoke some cigars.
Popping on the beach.
Yeah.
You guys take care. Stay safe. God bless you. And as always, may God bless Texas. We're out.